You are becoming someone. Not when you graduate, not when you finally figure things out, not when you feel ready, but right now. Every habit, every repeated thought, every comparison, every place your mind goes when you're bored, you are becoming someone. And whatever you are connected to is shaping that person. And here's the thing. You don't have to care to be formed. You're being shaped anyway, whether you recognize it or not. The question is, by what? What is shaping you? And that's not dramatic. That is reality. Open your Bibles to John chapter 15. We're going to dig right in and start with verse 1, John chapter 15. Everybody got a Bible? All right, follow along. We're going to read verses 1 through 5 this morning. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes it, so that it may bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, but must remain in the vine, so neither can you unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. The one who remains in me and I in him bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. I am the true vine. My Father is the vine dresser. You are the branches. When he says, I am the vine, that's identity language. He's not giving us advice. He's defining who he is. He is defining reality for us. He says, abide in me and I in you. That word abide means to remain, to stay, continue, make your dwelling, not visit occasionally, not check in when convenient. Remain. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself, is what it says. It cannot. It is incapable. Not it struggles to, not it has a harder time. It cannot bear fruit apart from me. And then he says, apart from me, you can do nothing. Some of you hear that and you think, there's no way that's true. Come on, I do things myself every single day. I get decent grades, I practice, I work, I function, I succeed in life. So what can he possibly mean when he says, apart from me, you can do nothing? Well, a lot of people, both believers and non-believers, misunderstand what Yeshua actually means here. He doesn't mean that you cannot function. He means you cannot produce life. You cannot manufacture spiritual fruit. You cannot generate deep peace. You cannot create lasting transformation. You cannot produce love, joy, endurance, humility, and depth on your own. You can perform, but you cannot produce life. Branches don't sustain themselves. They either draw life from the vine or they dry out. And here's what makes this intense. Disconnected branches, they don't look dead immediately, do they? You cut a limb off from a branch, from a tree or a plant, it's going to look okay for a little while, but they slowly wither. It's gradual, it's quiet, until one day you realize something is off, and that branch, that cut off, is completely dead. Now let's go one layer deeper. When he says, I am the vine, that image would not have sounded random to his disciples when he was talking with them. Throughout the Hebrew scriptures, Israel is described as a vine, a planted vine, a cultivated vine, a vine that was meant to bear fruit. The picture was always covenantal. God planted his people. God gave them life. God sustained them. And fruit was the evidence of covenant faithfulness. Now here's Yeshua standing in front of his disciples and he says, I am the true vine. Not just a vine, the true vine. In other words, if you want covenant life, he says it flows through me. And this is a massive statement. He's not offering a spiritual enhancement. He is redefining the source of true life itself. And then he says, you are the branches, not the trunk, not the root. You are the branches. That means you are not the source. You are not the source. You are the receiver. And if we think about that, that cuts directly against the illusion of self-sufficiency in today's world, especially in our culture that tells you to be independent, be self-defining, be self-powered. Covenant life has always been dependent life, not weak, dependent. And there's a difference. Weakness says, I can't function, I can't do anything. Dependence says, I draw life from a source. Branches are not embarrassed to be dependent. They are designed that way. And if they try to operate independently, they don't become very impressive. They become dry and they die. And that is not punishment. That is God's design. So many people hate God because of all the cruelty and evil in the world. But why do you think it's going to happen when you cut yourself off from the vine that gives you life? What do you expect? You were not designed for self-sustained spiritual life. You were designed for connection. And if you attempt independence long enough, you will feel the dryness. You will feel the dryness, not because God's cruel, but because you were made for abiding. You were made for abiding and being connected to the true vine. Jeremiah promised internal transformation. Here in John chapter 15, it shows us how that happens. It happens through abiding in the true vine. That is the only way. Let me give you a picture. Let's imagine a student. We'll call him Alex. I don't think we have any Alexes in here. Alex isn't rebellious. He's not anti-God. He doesn't mock the faith. He just doesn't think it's necessary right now. He's busy. He's got school. He's got sports. He's got friends. He's got social media, so there's these notifications constantly lighting up his screen. He doesn't reject God. He just never slows down long enough to stay connected. And here's the thing. Alex spends hours a day on his phone, scrolling, watching, comparing, absorbing. Not evil, not outrageous, just constant. And he spends zero intentional time remaining in Yeshua. Not because he's hostile, but because he's distracted. Months go by, nothing major happens, nothing explodes, but slowly he feels more anxious, more reactive, more dependent on the approval of others, more fragile when things go wrong. He doesn't wake up in crisis, he just feels dry, lifeless. Disconnected branches don't look dead immediately. They dry slowly. You don't have to care to be formed. You are being shaped anyway. The question you have to ask is by what? What is shaping you? So listen carefully. You are already abiding in something. You return to something daily. You draw from something daily. You are rooted in something daily. If your primary connection is comparison, comparison will shape you. If your primary connection is distraction, distraction will shape you. If your primary connection is achievement, achievement will define your worth. If your primary connection is anxiety, anxiety will form your everyday life, your identity. You are not neutral. You're not neutral. There is no neutral branch. You are becoming someone, and whatever you remain connected to long enough will shape that person that you become. But don't make the mistake of thinking that you are neutral. But here's the hope. Here's the hope. Yeshua doesn't say, perform for me. He doesn't say, prove yourself. He doesn't say, strain or try harder. He says, abide, remain, stay connected to me. Abiding is choosing to stay connected to Yeshua long enough for His life to shape yours. For His life to shape yours. It's returning, remaining, staying. And here's the thing, even when you don't feel anything, and that matters because some of you think, you know what, I don't really hear from God. I try. I don't hear anything. But branches don't feel the sap, and yet they remain connected. Fruit grows quietly, not dramatically, not loudly, not instantly. It wouldn't get all the likes and the hits on social media, but it's steady. It happens over time. Abiding is not emotional intensity. It is sustained connection. If you never intentionally remain in Yeshua, you will remain in something else. And that something else will shape you. It will. You may not notice immediately, but fruit always shows up eventually. Peace or anxiety, stability or fragility, depth or shallowness. Roots determine fruit. And guess what? Fruit reveals the roots. So here's the real question. What are you rooted in right now? Not what do you believe? Not what or where do you attend? Not what do you say? What are you rooted in? Because you, each one of you, are becoming someone. And whatever you remain connected to is shaping that person that you become. You don't have to answer out loud, but you need to think about this honestly in your life. What or who are you rooted in? What is shaping your life? Who are you becoming? The root, the connection, the source for your daily life will define that. And your fruit will show the root.